Anyone that complains about the messy fringe, instant block. I don't care. Hello everybody, I hope you're all well. And for 2 months every year during the summer, the reality show Love Island airs, where sexy singles are put into a villa with absolutely no communication with the outside world. There's recouplings, new singles get put in, people get dumped, and towards the end of the show, the public will vote for their favourite couple, and the winning couple wins a cash prize of £50,000. I watch Love Island every single year. It's my Euros, it's my Champions League, it's my World Cup, it's my Wimbledon.
Tomorrow night, our relationship hits the rocks.
I told you the truth, and you told me jack shit of what was on that fucking screen.
I lied to you. No.
Yeah, you didn't fucking tell me the truth, did you?
I didn't lie to you.
You didn't fucking tell me the truth.
And of course, being a long-time watcher of the show, I have many bones to pick with it. Last year, I actually made a video essay about the nice guy casting trope, which they use very often. But there are actually a few other Love Island video essays, which I recommend, which I will leave linked down below. But something I noticed watching this year's Love Island was that the misogyny was misogynying a lot more than it used to. It's not like Love Island as a show hasn't had its run-ins with misogyny before. In the 2018 series, Women's Aid actually put out a statement about Adam Collard's behaviour because he was coupled up with Rosie, had an intimate moment with her, if you know what I mean, dumped her the next day with absolutely no remorse, and then when she told him that he had actually really hurt her feelings, he laughed in her face.
How much you've actually really hurt me and really upset me.
But the boys this year, I have not seen displays of misogyny, double standards, and misogynistic bullying like this in reality TV in a really long time. So I wanted to talk about it with you guys today. But just before we get into this video, I would like to thank today's sponsor, Cheeks. Cheeks is a subscription-based sexual wellness platform which provides authentic adult entertainment, videos, stories, and also tutorials and workshops so you can broaden your horizons in a safe and comfortable environment. Something which really stands out to me about Cheeks is that all of their video content is produced responsibly and ethically, with real couples and authentic performers who are all of age, are paid fair wages with contracts. They only do what they have actively agreed to. There is a wide representation of different genders, preferences, and people, and there's no reproduction of stereotypes or any sort of forms of discrimination. Cheeks only collaborate with trustworthy partners, sustainable and fair productions with correct and ethical standards. And because Cheeks is completely legal, it is completely ad-free, virus-free. They don't share your data with third parties, and they don't track individual user behavior. Also, having a Cheeks subscription is a great way to educate yourself. Not only do you have access to lots of different tutorials, but also you have access to Cheeks' online magazine, where you can find the best tips for not just improving your adult life, if you know what I'm trying to imply, but also your self-love. And not only this, but you can also access live workshops where you can learn tips and tricks from experts, and also you have access to different profiles and interviews of people who work in the industry. To access all of this, a Cheeks subscription is £14.90/$14.90 a month. There is no minimum term, and you can cancel your subscription whenever you wish, and you guys can actually access 14 days of Cheeks for free if you use my code Jordan. So to check out Cheeks for yourself and also to get 14 days for free using the code Jordan, make sure you click my link in the description. Thank you again, Cheeks, for sponsoring today's video. Before we start talking about the misogynistic behavior and bullying occurring on the show this year, I think it's very important to give some background. Anyone that's been watching the show, this will be a perfect time to jog your memory, and anyone who's never watched the show before, you can get in the loop with everyone else.
I just thought I'd quickly preface this before getting into it, that a lot of people argue when people are trying to analyse reality TV that it's 1 hour out of 24 hours. We don't really know what these people are like. It's a very unnatural environment to be in, and I do agree with that to an extent. But I do think a show like Love Island is such a good reflection on British society and British culture, specifically young people and the way that they behave and act in this country. And what I'm going to be talking about today with misogyny is this misogyny which is sort of present in like British lad culture, because I'm telling you, every single girl that lives in the UK has had to deal with men like this multiple times in their lifetime.
There are 3 male islanders which I'm going to be focusing on specifically: Luca, Jacques and Dami, but also I will be giving background on 2 couples, Davide and Ekin-Su and Tasha and Andrew. Luca was an original contestant, meaning that he entered right at the beginning of the show, and the way the original contestants were coupled up was, instead of choosing themselves, there was actually a public vote on who should be coupled up together. And I don't know about you guys, but I have literally absolutely no memory of this. Like, what public was voting for this? Luca was originally coupled up with Paige, but had said that he wanted to also get to know Tasha and Gemma. And around a week in the show, he decided to recouple with Gemma, and they've basically been coupled up ever since. His head hasn't really been turned at all. During Casa Amor, he wasn't entertaining any of the girls in there, but he was egging on the other boys to cheat on their partners.
Also, I know technically none of the boys cheated because they weren't girlfriend or boyfriend with their partners and they weren't exclusive. I'm just using the term cheating because it's easier to say. But also I think there is a way to get to know other girls during Casa Amor whilst being respectful to your partner, which none of the boys did.
He has shown some controlling behaviours and seems to be quite a jealous person. Jacques entered the villa during the 2nd week of the show and is actually Gemma's ex-boyfriend. Gemma turned 19 around a month before going on the show, and if you do the maths, it seems that Gemma and Jacques dated when Gemma was 16/17 and Jacques was 20/21. So already I was side-eyeing this man. Jacques chose to recouple with Paige and they were pretty solid for a couple of weeks, and then Jay actually chose to recouple with Paige and Paige was open to getting to know him. This clearly really bothered Jacques, who confessed to Paige that he had real feelings for her. We are going to talk more about this later. During Casa Amor, a staple of Love Island where the girls and the guys are separated into 2 different villas and 6 new boys and 6 new girls come in, Jacques felt like he needed to test him and Paige's connection. So he got to know and kissed 2 different girls, Molly and Cheyenne, but in the end chose to stick with Paige. Now, before being dumped from the island, Cheyenne spilled. She spilled! When I'm telling you guys, this might have been the best episode of Love Island I ever watched. I remember before it came on, I literally had butterflies in my stomach. I literally told my therapist of how excited I was to watch the episode.
Felt like I had a connection with someone. Jacques.
Cheyenne reveals that she felt that she had a romantic connection with Jacques, and Paige is not happy about this at all, obviously. So Jacques really has to graft Paige to get her back, and I'm not going to lie, it's actually going quite well for a few days, and then enters ex-Islander Adam Collard. Someone on Twitter said that this was their Spider-Man No Way Home, and they're so right!
Guess who's back?
Adam enters the villa and says that he wants to get to know Paige. Paige is very open. Obviously, it's Adam Collard. He's literally the man which all boyfriends fear. Jacques gets extremely angry and frustrated about the situation, which leads to him getting very upset and distressed about the situation, and he actually decides to quit the show, which again, I'll be talking more about later. Dami was an original contestant who was originally coupled up with Amber, and if I'm going to be honest, Amber just didn't really seem to like him that much. And Dami and India, who at that time was coupled up with Ikenna, realised that they both want to get to know each other. And weirdly enough, the same night, both Amber and Ikenna get dumped from the island. Dami recouples with India and they're really hitting it off for a couple of weeks. I truly think that it's love. They're going to get married. They're going to have babies. They're going to win. I was going to put a bet on it. And then Casa Amor rolls around. And Dami says to Summer that he feels like he has a connection with her. He kisses her on the second night, kisses her a lot, is very affectionate with her through the whole of Casa Amor, also has multiple three-way kisses with Summer and China. Literally, these girls have been gone for 2 days. After Casa Amor, Dami chooses to recouple with Summer, and India actually chooses to recouple with Deji. After a few days of tension and arguing, Dami and India end up reconciling and recoupling. On to the couples. Let's talk about Davide and Ekin-Su. They both entered the show as bombshells, only a few days apart from each other. And after Luca stole Gemma from Davide, Davide chooses to recouple with Ekin-Su. After the recoupling, Ekin-Su is feeling quite neglected by Davide. She feels like he's not making an effort. So she kisses newcomer Jay twice behind Davide's back, and then afterwards asks Davide to make her something to eat.
Talented, brilliant, incredible, amazing, show-stopping, spectacular, never the same, totally unique, completely not ever been done before.
Davide finds out about this and shit hits the fan.
I actually don't give a shit about you. You are a liar, actress.
Ekin-Su decides to recouple with Jay. Gemma chooses to recouple with Davide in a friendship couple. And then over the next couple of weeks, Ekin-Su also recouples with Charlie and Davide recouples with Antigone. But of course, Ekin-Su and Davide end up back together. Ekin-Su chooses to recouple with him, I think around week 3. And honestly, guys, I love my divorced parents. During Casa Amor, Davide kisses Coco and Molly, and Ekin-Su has like a bit of a moment in bed with George, but nothing actually happens. But they end up choosing to stay together. Andrew and Tasha were both original contestants who were actually originally coupled up together. It was kind of clear from the beginning that Andrew was clearly into Tasha more than Tasha was into him. Andrew did have a little bit of weird behavior at the beginning. Like, he told Tasha that Luca said that Tasha wasn't even in his top 3, which was just a lie. And he actually ended up having to apologize to Luca and Tasha because of this. Tasha was open to getting to know newcomer Jay and then also newcomer Charlie a week later, but both of them actually chose to recouple with Ekin-Su. No one can do it like Ekin-Su does it. During Casa Amor, the new girls plant seeds of doubt in Andrew's mind. So Andrew chooses to get to know Coco. He kisses her. He sucks her tits.
Basically, she's told the guys that I like sucked her tits or whatever.
How what?
Like licked her tit or whatever.
And while this is happening, Tasha is getting to know Billy and also kisses him. And Tasha chooses to recouple with Billy and Andrew chooses to recouple with Coco. And similarly to Dami and India, after a few days of tension and arguing, Tasha and Andrew reconcile and recouple. Now that I've given you guys some background on the contestants, let's actually talk about this timeline of misogynistic behavior and bullying. And the first person I'm going to talk about is jacques, because he was actually the first person to really be called out about this behavior, but jacques is only really the tip of the iceberg. Jacques was coupled up with Paige for a majority of the competition, and as I said earlier, I was side-eyeing him from the day he got in. On Love Island, there is a challenge called the Heart Rate Challenge, where each islander has to give a striptease, and all the other islanders are attached to heart monitors, and it's revealed that Jacques' heart raced the fastest for Gemma, his ex-girlfriend. Paige says to Jacques that she's a little bit miffed about it because he asked her what was wrong, and Jacques immediately loses his temper and calls Paige pathetic. When Jay recouples with Paige and says that he wants to get to know her and Paige is open to this, very conveniently Jacques decides to confess his feelings to Paige. Only thing is, He confesses his feelings to Paige in the middle of the night when everyone's asleep. And the way he confesses his feelings to Paige is he says that he has never cared about any other girl before her, whilst he's in the same villa with his ex-girlfriends. During Casa Amor, Jacques got to know and kissed 2 different girls. He treated Molly like she was quite disposable, said that he was going to go and sack Molly off and was laughing about it. It was all a bit weird. And he also said that he preferred Cheyenne because she was quieter. Now, this isn't like outright misogynistic behavior, but it definitely is a little bit icky. When Adam enters the villa and says that he wants to get to know Paige, and Paige is obviously open to this because it's Adam Collard, Jacques gets extremely angry about it.
Beef. Just another geezer that's been on the show. You nothing, mate.
Alright, and then they keep that in mind. So
why do I need to keep it in mind?
Way more angry than someone who has just kissed 2 different girls in Casa Amor. And to be fair, you can tell that Jacques has genuine feelings for Paige. But when he's in bed with her, he says to her, "You getting to know him is going to break me," which feels quite manipulative on his end. And during this time, Jacques was getting a lot of criticism for his behavior on social media. So his family decided to put out a post on his Instagram, which reads, "Jacques was diagnosed with ADHD when he was 9 years old. By no means is this a get-out clause for his actions, but it is to show that he can fundamentally struggle with his emotions at times. He is an amazing person who I'm proud to call my friend/little brother. Love Island, although it's real, is still a show where the producers do have control, and we see 45 minutes out of our 1,444 in 24 hours. Please be kind." Despite his brother saying that he's not using Jacques' ADHD as an excuse for his behavior, he still kind of is. Now, in Jacques' defense, and I never thought that sentence would ever leave my mouth, I understand struggling to regulate your emotions when you have ADHD. As someone who's trying to get an ADHD diagnosis myself, but the waiting list is literally years long. Anyways, when I'm getting frustrated with someone, on my end, I think that I'm just raising my voice a little bit and that I'm being a bit irritable, when in reality, I'm actually being really aggressive. I just don't realize it. So I understand that struggle because you genuinely really cannot help it. Like, it takes so much of an active effort to not come across as more aggressive than you're intending. But still, that's not an excuse for misogynistic behavior. The day after Jacques' aggressive outburst, he is extremely upset and distressed to the point where I felt like I shouldn't even been watching it. And at this point, he decides to quit the show, which I definitely think was the best call, but I still think the producers should have pulled him out a little bit earlier. And after he left the show, he actually made a statement on Instagram. A part of it reads, "I've watched back the episode that I got the most hate for, and listen, I understand why I did. I've got a lot of work to do for myself to become a better person. I know my family has come out and said about my ADHD while I was in the villa, but that is no excuse for me. Yes, I might find certain things a lot more difficult than others, but at the end of the day, I need to take responsibility for my own actions, and I'll hold my hands up. I sometimes couldn't watch how I was speaking and acting in certain situations, but I'm really glad I've watched it because now it's really opened my eyes up and it's time to work on myself for myself." Not to play couch psychologist or anything, but you could kind of tell that this is probably one of the first times that Jacques has been held accountable for his actions. And I'm glad that he's been receptive to the criticism, and I hope that he changes for the better. Now onto Dami and Luca. Before I talk about the way both of them have treated Tasha throughout the show, let's talk about their behavior as individuals. Dami was coming across really well on the show and he was really likable up until Casa Amor, where he chose to recouple with Summer. India, who he was originally coupled up with, also chose to recouple. She chose to recouple with Deji. My audio started bugging out, so I'm just re-recording it. Basically, Dami seemed annoyed that India had chosen to recouple with someone else, despite the fact that he had also recoupled with someone else. And to be fair, India seemed annoyed that Dami had recoupled with someone else as well. And I'm like, guys, I'm so confused. I'm getting so many mixed signals.
Basically, what I'm trying to say is that summer's not over. I think it just started.
Few moments later.
To the villa, Deji.
Happy for you.
He clearly wasn't expecting India to recouple and probably expected to have the power in the situation. And because he didn't, and because India made him a little bit of a fool, he probably felt very emasculated and quite humiliated in front of his male counterparts. After Casa Amor, Dami and India actually end up reconciling and recoupling. But during Mad Movies, a segment of the show where islanders are shown different clips from the past 7 weeks, everyone was shown the way that Dami was behaving during Casa Amor. And it was exposed that Dami had instigated a lot of it, a lot more than he had let on to India. And Summer explained to India that the reason that she was so upset when Dami ended things with her was because the way he was behaving in Casa Amor gave her a lot of false hope. And Dami's response to this was to tell Summer to shut up and calling her fake.
It's now been shown that you sugarcoated the whole situation that happened in Casa. It shows exactly why I was upset.
I thought you were real, you know, but you're actually fake.
I can't lie, that's very fucking shady.
I actually thought you were real.
That's very fucking shady.
No, it's not shady.
That's very fucking shady because you were literally saying to me that you feel like you have a connection with me, so don't actually piss me the fuck off.
Get her, Jay.
Run that shit back fully on the screen and then see if India still wants to chat to you.
Shut up, man.
Now, let's talk about Luca. This man has a Winston Churchill tattoo, so the signs were always there. As I said earlier, Luca has been coupled up with Gemma for a majority of the competition, and he's quite protective in the relationship. He's quite jealous. You can tell that he's a little bit insecure in the relationship because Gemma is so beautiful. But Luca definitely crossed the line during Mad Movies. Like, the red flags were crimson. During Mad Movies, the islanders were shown a couple of conversations between Gemma and Billy where Billy is trying to flirt with her. For reference, Billy is the man dressed up as a Wetherspoons plate. Gemma wasn't reciprocating the flirty banter at all. She was just having friendly conversation as any normal person would.
Grant, it's so hard to approach me, but you didn't speak to me at all in the first
Relax, just chill. I'm still talking to you now. Your time's come.
Wow, I feel really lucky.
All right.
I can't even be near you. Get told off by everyone.
I mean, look, mate, I'm telling you now, don't even want to speak to us. Just bring me a fucking bird and watch me then flirt or fucking hell.
But Luca sees these clips and is absolutely fuming. I don't even know why these clips made him so angry. Oh my god, is it because Gemma has to converse with someone else with a pumping heart and a penis? Luca starts accusing Gemma of not being genuine, and the boys only further feed into his delusions. Adam says that Billy wouldn't have bothered flirting with Gemma if he didn't think there was anything there. And Billy reaffirms this by saying that he wouldn't have bothered flirting with Gemma if he didn't think he had a shot, and that Gemma had confused him and that Gemma was actually flirting back.
For me, you were entertaining it. You were.
No, I wasn't.
We didn't feel like confused with anyone else other than you. But he obviously got an inkling to go with it. You don't try unless you think you've got a chance.
Honestly, every single man in this show can choke. How is it Gemma's fault that Billy is flirting with her? Because Luca blew up over the most minor thing, it makes me feel like he's always had this underlying jealousy sort of bubbling beneath the surface, which is probably rooted in insecurity. He's probably been waiting for Gemma to fuck up in some way. So this minor interaction where nothing happened feels like a confirmation of his suspicions, that he's actually been right this entire time. It almost seems like Luca has been waiting for an excuse to start a fight with Gemma where he's in the right. Luckily, Gemma is a very strong-willed person who knows how to stand her ground, so she never apologizes. But even when Luca apologizes for overreacting, he still manages to slip in there that Gemma is naive to Billy's flirting. And just to top it all off, Luca then says, "I think you're the best looking girl in here. If men weren't trying it on with you, I'd be doing something wrong." Luca is a prime example of if you can't handle a bad bitch, don't date one. Let's talk about the way that both Luca and Dami treated Tasha throughout the show. I've already explained the timeline of Tasha and Andrew's relationship, and Luca and Dami have always had suspicions that Andrew liked Tasha more than Tasha liked him. Now, I don't think that these suspicions are completely unfounded. I thought for a while that Tasha didn't like Andrew as much as Andrew liked her, especially because she was talking to Ekin-Su about what it feels like to be in love, but then a week later recoupled with Billy and Casa Amor. But if we go back a bit, if we just rewind, around 2.5 weeks into the competition, newcomer Charlie takes Tasha out on a date and says that he wants to get to know her. And Tasha says she's open to this. This has actually upset Andrew a bit, and Andrew asks Tasha if Charlie chooses to recouple with her, will she share a bed with him? And Tasha basically says that she's not sure. And this really, really upsets Andrew, and this really makes both Luca and Dami angry. In the end, Charlie chooses to recouple with Ekin-Su, and Andrew chooses to recouple with Tasha and says this very cute recoupling speech. And whilst he's saying this speech, Luca and Dami are scoffing, rolling their eyes, shaking their heads the entire time.
Even though we've had a few challenges, we're gonna have more. I'm positive. I'm really looking forward to seeing where this can go. So the girl I'd like to couple up with is...
And what's kind of crazy about this is I don't actually necessarily disagree with what Dami and Luca were saying at the time. I also agreed that I thought Tasha was being a little bit inconsistent. But with sort of the shaking the head at the recoupling, I don't even necessarily think Dami took it too far, but I definitely think Luca took it way too far. And it just reminded me, like, he just seemed like a school bully through all of the clips. It was actually, like, not very nice when I watched it back.
And if this was just sort of an isolated incident, I wouldn't think much of it. This is just the beginning. A few days after Casa Amor, Tasha and Andrew end up reconciling and recoupling, and Tasha actually asks Andrew to be her boyfriend. And on the same day, there is a public vote, and Tasha and Andrew are in the bottom 3 for a third time. They don't get dumped from the island, but Tasha is very upset about this and is crying. And Luca and Dami just do not understand why Tasha is so upset about being in the bottom 3 when she asked Andrew to be her boyfriend a few hours before. This should be a happy day. They just don't understand. And Luca and Dami are not the only people who are questioning Tasha at this time. A few other islanders don't think she's being very genuine. But the difference is that Luca decides to go up to Tasha whilst she's crying and tells her how he feels about it all, how she shouldn't be crying about a public vote, that it doesn't matter, that she's got a boyfriend now.
It's not nice to be in the bottom 3, I do understand that. What I can't understand is you made someone your boyfriend
Yeah, I know
tonight.
I have, Luke. I know I have got positive, but at the same time, when it's a knockback, it can knock your fucking confidence down to fucking thousands. You haven't been in that position before, so don't come at me.
I'm not coming at you, but if I was in that position, I don't think...
And look, I just think that you can have your thoughts and feelings about it, but don't go and tell someone and try and stir the pot whilst they're crying. Like, don't kick them whilst they're down. Also, I think she's in her complete right to be upset. I'd be upset if I was in the bottom 3 times. And just because she's having a little cry about it doesn't mean that she likes Andrew any less. And during Mad Movies, a few clips are shown of Tasha and Billy kissing during Casa Amor and then sharing a bed in the main villa. And Tasha is laughing at these clips, which is understandable. It's probably a bit awkward watching them back. And Luca is getting angry at Tasha laughing.
It's not funny, he's sleeping outside. Mate, I wouldn't be laughing.
You could be a bit more juicy than that.
You were slept outside.
Yeah.
And what really gets me about this is that Andrew was sleeping outside when everyone was back in the main villa and Tasha and Billy were sharing a bed. Andrew was sleeping outside because he didn't want to be with Coco anymore, and Tasha and Billy were sharing a bed because they were still together. Tasha and Andrew were not together at this time. Andrew had chosen to sleep outside of his own accord. So I just don't understand how this piece of information is relevant. He repeats it twice as well. Like, Luca is actually getting more angry about it than Andrew is. Andrew understands that he is in no position to get angry about this because what he did with Coco was so much worse. It's almost as if Luca wants all the boys around him to be as unreasonable and as deluded as he is. When everyone is shown clips of Andrew kissing Coco multiple times during Casa Amor and also Luca egging on Andrew to cheat, Luca keeps saying Tasha who and that's my boy, and also is laughing at all of these clips mere minutes after getting angry at Tasha for laughing at hers.
That's my boy.
Tasha who? Game's done. Tasha who?
What we heard about Tasha? What, I weren't going to egg him on? Fucking behave.
I spent about 80% of my time talking about Regina, and the other 20% of the time I was praying for someone else to bring her up so I could talk about her more.
Also, let's not forget, minutes after Luca is cackling like a hyena at all of these clips of the boys cheating on their partners, Luca is shown clips where Billy is flirting with Gemma and he loses his shit. He is the prime example of someone who can dish it out but cannot take it. And despite Luca apologizing for his Tasha who comments, him and Dami still continue to accuse Tasha of being fake and being a game player. During one challenge, both Luca and Dami say that Tasha is walking all over Andrew and that she's also using Andrew to get to the final. And as soon as she gets upset about this, which is completely understandable, she's been getting picked on by the two same boys for weeks now, the boys just tell her that she's being over dramatic.
Just a fucking game.
Mate, don't expect me to go so sorry. Just upset because...
Andrew definitely didn't stick up for Tasha as much as he should have throughout the show, but when he finally decides to stand up to his friends, Luca and Dami just start complaining. And just to further prove that Luca can't take accountability for anything, during the Snog, Marry, Pie challenge, Luca was getting a lot of pies, and his response to this was that every single girl that pied him, he had actually pied them off himself. So these girls must just be bitter and angry because Luca rejected them. I think if Luca held everyone to his relationship standards, then this video would be very different. But something which makes this misogynistic bullying so blatant is the double standard. Luca holds the women to a much higher standard than any of the men. As I said earlier, Luca was laughing at all of the clips of his male counterparts cheating on their partners, but as soon as Tasha laughs at her clips, he gets angry. On top of Luca getting extremely angry at the clips where he believes Gemma is flirting back with Billy, Luca also gets angry at the suggestive clips of Ekin-Su and a Casa Amor Islander called George, where you couldn't actually see anything happen. And according to Ekin-Su, nothing did happen, but is laughing and grinning where clips of Andrew and Davide kissing other girls in Casa Amor are shown. And he even goes as far as to defend Dami's three-way kiss by saying it was just a peck.
On your best behavior, yeah?
Later that same evening.
Luca and Dami consistently accuse Ekin-Su and Tasha of being game players because they've kissed other men and because they've been open to getting to know other men. But Luca has never once accused Dami of being a game player, despite the fact that he has behaved worse than any of the other women in the competition. And Luca and Dami did actually get into an argument about Dami's behavior during Casa Amor, but Dami shut it down very quickly and they've never gotten into an argument since. It's quite clear to me that Luca chooses to single out the girls and call them out on their behavior because they're far more likely to argue back with him, especially a more sensitive girl like Tasha, who Luca probably sees as the weakest link. And I just find it especially weird that Luca chooses to pick on Tasha of all people. Andrew is one of his best friends in the villa. Why would you want to pick and antagonize your best friend's girlfriend? I understand that these boys are Luca's best friends and he is going to stick up for them and defend them, and I don't think that's a bad trait to have, but you can't sit there and laugh at your male friends cheating on their partners and go as far to defend them whilst in the same breath getting angry at the girls girls for laughing at their own clips and even kissing other men. It just makes you a misogynistic hypocrite. And one part of the episode where Dami believes that the men are actually being treated unfairly and that it's one rule for the boys and one rule for the girls. And this is just because the girls are actually holding them accountable for their actions.
Luca did actually end up apologising to Tasha after the Snog, Marry, Pie challenge. And I'm not saying whether this is definite or not. This is literally just a theory. But a few people believe that the producers told him to apologise. I think Dami apologised as well, but I can't really remember because Luca has always been very reluctant to apologise to Tasha. And all of a sudden, he's ready to apologise to her. Also, this was right after Women's Aid released their statement about Luca. So I do think the timing is a bit coincidental as well.
And because of this ongoing bullying and misogyny, it actually made the show really unenjoyable. I actually missed a whole week of the show because I was on holiday. So when I came back, I knew I wanted to make this video, so I had to do a little Love Island omnibus. I thought it was going to be enjoyable. I was drained. I was exhausted. I didn't want to watch any more of the show, especially because, and I'm sure a lot of other women watching the show would agree, the way that these men are behaving on the show is very reflective to how a lot of men in the UK behave in real life. And it's very reflective of some of my personal experiences with men. So it was actually quite hard to watch at times. And to quote a Refinery 29 article about misogyny on the show, in every season of Love Island, we have rooted for the friendships between people as much as the relationships. Think of Chris and Kem, Luke T and Luke M, Maura and Molly May, Amber and Anna. This season hasn't given us any friendships to root for, just a misogynistic boys club who are eagerly supporting each other in demonizing and disrespecting the girls while simultaneously telling those girls to calm down about their own behavior. Luckily, this misogynistic behavior and bullying hasn't gone unnoticed. Viewers have been very vocal, especially on Twitter, condemning Luca and Dami's behavior. Luca's comments have actually been limited on Instagram, which can only really mean one thing. And Ofcom has received over 3,000 complaints about the misogynistic bullying. Sorry, my memory card got full. Anyways, so I was actually hoping that after the show we would get a moment of growth with Luca, the same that we got with jacques. But unfortunately, Luca's sister, who's running his account at the moment, posted on his story, "This is me at the computer every morning adding to my spreadsheet of names that have been shady towards Luca so he never entertains them when he's out. Am I petty? Yes. Do I care? No." And I know for a fact there are going to be people in the comments section saying that I'm being over dramatic, saying that I'm deeping it, but 43% of Love Island viewers are under the age of 30, who can easily watch this series and think that it's acceptable to treat women this way. Or even worse, young women and girls can watch the series and think that they deserve to be treated this way. To conclude this video, I thought I would quickly talk about Be Kind. In February of 2020, Love Island presenter Caroline Flack sadly took her own life. And one of Caroline's last Instagram posts read, "In a world where you can be anything, be kind." And people use this phrase and this hashtag Be Kind to remind people to be kinder when talking about people on social media, because you never really know what people are going through, especially after the deaths of Love Island contestants Mike Thalasitis and Sophie Graydon. And unfortunately, people will use this movement, and especially even worse, these people's deaths, as a way of absolving themselves from any criticism or accountability. Firstly, I think it's important to talk about the events leading up to Caroline's death. In early 2020, Caroline was arrested for common assault on her boyfriend, and pictures of blood at the scene were sold to newspapers. And because of this, Caroline subsequently had to step down from Love Island. And after her death, her family actually shared an unpublished note where Caroline says that the blood in the leaked photo wasn't her boyfriend's, it was actually hers, and that they had an argument and that an accident had happened after the argument, and that absolutely no assault had occurred. And her boyfriend corroborated this by saying, "I'm tired of the lies and abuse aimed at my girlfriend. This is not a witch hunt, this is someone's life. Caroline is the most lovely girl, loyal and kind. She doesn't deserve any of this." But people blamed Caroline's suicide side on the criticism and abuse that she received on social media. And of course, I'm sure that contributed to it, but none of this criticism or abuse would have materialized if someone hadn't leaked the pictures to the newspapers, and the newspapers weren't heavily reporting on this, accusing Caroline Flack of being an abuser. And even though I never spoke vocally about it online, I believe that Caroline Flack was an abuser because of what I'd read online. So not only has Be Kind been boiled down to just social media hate and not tabloid harassment, but now people use Be Kind as a way to absolve themselves from any criticism or accountability. One example being is that when Jacques quit the show, it was very clear that he was struggling with his mental health. And immediately people were saying on social media like clockwork that we shouldn't be horrible about or we shouldn't be criticizing Jacques in any way because of his mental health. And of course, I don't agree with people sending islanders abuse by any means, but just because someone is struggling with their mental health doesn't mean that they shouldn't be held accountable for their actions. And Jacques, from his statement, seems to agree with this. And it's getting to the point where you can't fairly criticize someone's misogynistic behavior without someone piping up about Be Kind and mental health. You know, we should be thinking about Luca's mental health, but people are rarely thinking about Tasha's mental health and the fact that she's been picked on for the past 4 weeks. I think it's very telling that the public figure who tends to pipe up the most about Be Kind is Piers Morgan. But yes, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you soon for another video. Bye!